elements of a lesson plan. First of all, let's discuss why do we plan a lesson? So that we know how effectively to use our 40 minutes. We want to know how will we start, what will we, what kind of exercise or activities will we make the students do, what examples will we give, how will we end, what questions will we ask. If we have a plan in our mind, we obviously are able to run the class without any interruption. The class stays more focused and we are able to achieve the objective without much of interference or disturbance. What are the things that we should keep in mind when we are planning a lesson is what we are discussing today. The first most important thing is for a lesson to have a clear aim and objective. What is the difference between an aim and objective? Well, aim is a long-term goal. That means by learning this, how will it help you in future? What can you use this information for? Or significance of your learning. The importance of learning this chapter. That's what you talk about in aim. If you know that, sometimes it helps, when the students start learning a topic, they're like, ma'am, is this going to be useful? Sir, will we ever use this learning? Well, if you are able to give this information a little bit to them, they feel that, oh yeah, I think this is going to be of use to us and therefore let's pay attention. So aim creates some kind of usefulness of their learning in school. Objective is a short-term goal. That means by the end of the class, what is that I want to achieve? So achieve in 40 minutes. So say for example, I'll say by the end of 40 minutes, my students should know the definition of noun and the difference between proper noun and common noun. So that's what I want to do in 40 minutes. Or a science teacher may say, I want to teach them the concept of force. In 40 minutes, the student should be able to understand force and see its use in their real life. So both an aim and an objective. Or math teacher may say, I want to teach them fractions and give them examples from real life where fractions are used. Or a social science teacher may say, I want to talk about the Dandi March or the non-cooperation movement. And how was this planned and executed? And the aim can be that, by learning how a movement is planned, you are teaching them leadership skills. How leaders work, how leaders think, how do they make sure that groups follow them and so on. So your aim and objective should be not only clear to you, you should also share it with your class so they know what is that they want to do. By taking at least 1 or 2 minutes in clarifying this, you also give time for students to get the focus on your class. So you're bringing their attention to the fact that we have a clear agenda today. This is what we want to do. That's very, very important for every teacher to do. The next thing, again, remember every lesson may take, sometimes it may take more time, sometimes less, but prior knowledge activation is very, very important. What is prior knowledge activation? Say for example, they have learned a topic in grade 7 and they are learning similar. Say for example, they learned about simple interest and now in grade 8, they are learning about compound interest. So it's important that the teacher, before they start compound interest, talks a little about simple interest. They asks them basic questions. What do you understand about interest? How do you calculate? Do a one question on simple interest and then move to compound interest, right? So before, the topics that you learned before and how it is useful now, you will discuss that. Sometimes you may have to do what was done in the previous class. That could be prior knowledge activation. That yesterday, can somebody summarize what were the things that we did? Because now we are going to continue to the next topic. So prior knowledge could just be about capturing the information before. So in case some people are absent or somebody did not pay attention, they are again kind of reminded of what was done and then you proceed, right? Or prior knowledge activation can be you ask the students for examples of what do they know about this objective that you wrote on the board. Have you heard about nouns before? Can you tell me what do you know about nouns till now? Or have you heard about latitudes and longitudes in geography? And can you tell me a topic in math, like you do coordinate geometry? Can you tell me how latitude and longitude can be compared to coordinate geometry or x and y coordinates? Or you may say in French or Hindi class, you may ask them meanings of some words that you feel are going to come in your lesson, and you want to make sure that they are prepared with the vocabulary. So prior knowledge activation just helps students go from known to unknown. They are also gaining confidence because they feel that, oh, I have already learned a bit of this, and now I'm only going to build more in on it. So it is like the spiral learning that you repeat. So in spiral learning, you repeat what was done before, and then you build on it. Again you repeat and you build on it, and so on. So all our curriculum, be it state board or CBSE or ICSE, this is spiral learning format is used, where the center is often reinforced, like the prior knowledge, and on that more information is built. So prior knowledge activation becomes an important exercise. You take 2 minutes, you take 5 minutes, in some class it may take 10 minutes, doesn't matter. But spend a little time on that. Now comes your main instruction or your main explanation, right? Now we encourage teachers to say that make sure students are actively learning. What is the meaning of actively learning? You must that, do I have to physically make them move in the class? No. They should be mentally alert. In addition to being physically present in your class. And how do we do that? Say, for example, you're teaching a topic where you are explaining more. Okay, it's a new topic and you need to explain. First thing is, ask them to take running notes if they are older students. If they are younger students, keep writing important words on the board when you are explaining, and give them after every 5 minutes or 10 minutes, give them some time to make a note of what you are writing. You will pause and question. You will not continuously talk for the whole time. You will take a break, ask them 1 or 2 questions, give them time to ask questions to you, give them time to just read over what they have written till now and say that, do you need me to explain something again? So these are important things that you do when you're explaining. The other way of making them actively learn is when you give them probing questions and set them to discussion mode. So say for example, you're teaching a civics topic on the system of voting. You don't want to directly start doing all the explanation on your own, because a lot of things students may already be knowing. So why not ask them 1 or 2 important questions and first gather all the information from them, put it on the board, all that they know. Different students may know different things, so that discussion can happen, and you put it, and then from there you start the learning. This can also of course be a part of the prior learning activation, and then you are giving time. But even in your main lesson, you can always have discussions up as a part of your learning. Another way is to have them do an activity, like a hands-on activity. Say for example, in you want to teach parts of flower in a science class. You ask them to bring a hibiscus flower, you make them do the dissection and look at each parts, and start drawing as they are doing. You can have a paper folding activity in a geometry class where you're teaching them about quadrilaterals. You can have a clay activity in geography where you're teaching them about contours or maps or about different landforms like plateaus, valleys. You want them to use clay and build the models, right? Or on in history, you give them a role play. So you teach them about some historical event and you give them a chance to role play it, have characters and explain. In English class, you can either have a dictation, you can have a quiz, you can have a poetry recitation, you can have a storytelling. So in by active learning, we mean that students are not just sitting passively and listening to you. They are also doing something simultaneously. So they are staying actively involved in the class. If they are just told to sit, fold your hands, sit and listen, after 10 minutes, their attention will not be there. So in a 40-minute class, unless you give them something to do as well, it could be drawing a diagram, it could be writing notes, it could be giving us question and they discuss and talk, then they stay active and more involved in the class. So the idea is, for full 40 minutes, I want to keep their focus. And that's the reason active learning. So we have done we have given them an aim and objective. We have done prior knowledge activation. We made sure they are staying active. The next part is formative assessments, which to some extent we have also discussed in active learning, have some kind of a check. So this is a check on their learning. So as soon as you enter, sometimes what teachers do is they spend first 5 minutes in asking questions about the previous class or about some important words or one math question they gave or a science definition. So like a pop quiz. And this is a surprise thing. Every day as soon as they enter, first 5 minutes is spent on this. Sometimes they do mental math activities. Sometimes they do dictation. Sometimes they ask, they do a map marking activity in the first 5 minutes. So something they do to check how whether students have understood, they remember, they are able to relate, and so on. Formative assessments can also be when you stop and let students ask questions. And why is this formative? Because then you get a feedback on how well are you teaching, and if the questions are very basic, then that means somewhere you will have to teach that again. Asking them to give examples is another way of checking their learning, because if they are able to give right examples, then they have understood it well. In a math class, maybe you can say, at the end of every class, last 5 minutes, you're going to give them one or two problems to do on their own. And you are just going to go around and see how confidently they are doing. Or you can also give them peer work, paired work. So you can make sure that you give them some work that they can do together and then complete it. Like just revise all that we learned today and prepare one question. Or you give me 5 important words from today's class. Or ask students one line summary of the class today. What did you like best in the class today? So these kind of questions can also be formative. Or what was the most challenging thing about the class today? Where else have you learned what you did in the class today? Which other subject has something similar? So asking these kind of questions and is just helping them to have a check on their learning, and you also keep getting constant feedback about how the class is doing. Closure. If you remember, we have always encouraged finish on time, finish 5 minutes early. In fact, the reason is you want to consolidate or summarize the learning. You cannot just finish everything and say, okay, bell rang and I'm going. Consolidation makes sure that you are going to review or revise once again what was done in the class. And that's an important exercise to finish the class. Closure can also be the time when you give them homework or a follow-up activity. What should they do at home after? Read this lesson again, mark important words in this chapter, do these last two questions from the textbook, but talk to your parents about your experience and take examples from them, interview somebody in about a topic and then come to class and share, prepare a model, prepare a chart, record, do a video recording of or click pictures of something where you see something related to what we learned today. Especially in science and math classes, you can always say, find something around you which has a similar concept and click a picture and share it on WhatsApp or whatever. So some follow-up activity and closure, very, very important. So these 5 things, if done in every class, if you make sure that you have planned your class to ensure these are incorporated, again your classes become more structured, it becomes more useful to all types of learners. Let us revise back what are the 5 things. So having a clear aim and objective becomes very, very important to generate focus in the class. They know what is expected of them. Doing prior knowledge activation so that you make them confident about the learning, that oh yes, I know something about it already and now I'll go. Active learning so that the students say they are mentally engaged and they stay alert and involved all the time. You give them some kind of a formative assessment. So basically they are becoming more responsible about their learning. They keep getting feedback about what they are learning. When you ask them questions, they answer. You also give them feedback saying that, you said it correct, but you could have added this also. So there is continuous feedback given and they become more responsible about their own learning. And finally, closure, clear closure, so that there is a proper consolidation and students become more, they're more satisfied about that whole learning. That oh yes, this is how we have finished, this is what we learned today, tomorrow we are, so there is a some kind of an end to what you began. So this is how we want teachers to make sure that they are thinking about their classes and planning for that.